welcome to episode 43 of Winging It. Calling for calm. Everyone needs to just... Got Albert. Hello, Albert.
Good evening.
Good evening. And Sam Hesketh is also here.
Hello.
We was all hanging out
on Saturday.
This road last night.
Oh,
Saturday. Yeah. No, we're going to get into Saturday. Don't worry about that.
Fine.
But yeah, I feel like I've seen loads of you recently, Albert, and I love it.
Some may say too much.
Nope, never. We're going to get into beer check straight off the bat. Let me just get into mine first. I've got something from Gravity Well Brewing Company, and it's called Impact Crater. So, but this is a very special beer check because listeners may remember from last week we was talking about Albert's 40th birthday party, and I got you a lovely birthday present, didn't I, Albert?
You did get me a birthday present, yeah.
So what is it you're drinking for beer check this week?
I've been given a can of Tropical Crush.
Is that the beer I drank last week?
I think it's from the Yonder Brewery. It's mango and guava, passion fruit, triple fruited tropical sour, which, as everybody knows, is my favourite. Could you
read the blurb? Is there a blurb?
I'm 40 now, mate. I can't read this new print. I'm still not quite 40. Yeah, signature fruit treatment to create Tropical Crush. It's loaded with hundreds of kilos of mango, passion fruit, and guava puree. It doesn't feel that heavy. It doesn't feel like there's hundreds of kilos in the can, but in for a penny, in for a pound. I'm bringing it down more towards my level by pouring it in a Coors pint glass. I hope you don't mind, Terence.
Any glass will do, mate. It's fine.
Oh, Albert, if I may say,
colour of that.
Albert, your head is not hung nearly low enough for the shame that you should be feeling.
It'd be rude not. It's a birthday present. It'd be rude not to.
It would be rude not to.
Oh, fucking hell.
What are you looking at? What are you seeing?
It looks like I've bled a radiator.
Or just turned on tap water in London these days.
I mean, it smells good. And this is like herbal fruity teas. They smell great. But not necessarily for what's a beer. But here we go. Happy birthday to me. Thanks, Terence.
His face has folded in on itself, is what we're seeing.
Now.
He swallowed his own gums.
Now, it does say sour on the can, so I can't claim to be surprised. However, it's not quite the can of Rio that I was hoping it would be. But thank you very much. I'm going to enjoy it all the same. It's got a big can, isn't it?
Well, bottoms up. It's a big can. And of course, I bought that to you at your 40th birthday, which was in a lovely pub in central London.
Yes.
Great turnout, a fantastic turnout. I believe you invited 198 or 200 people and only 198 turned up.
Something like that. Yeah, there was trying to think, there was a few. I mean, I was sharing it with my mate Billy, so there's a few people there that weren't exclusively there for me. Well, I think I won them over by the end of the night. But yeah, there was a couple of there was meant to be a couple of other people that said they were coming. But yeah, they didn't. I can't remember who it was. I don't think it was anybody important. I don't think it was anybody I liked anyway, to be honest.
But it's someone you'd fully expect to be there.
Well, when someone says they're going to come, do you know what I mean? Like, you laid out a little place named for them, everything. But it's fine.
Not just out of interest. When is your birthday? It was last Saturday. Was it your birthday last Saturday?
No, my birthday's this Friday.
All right. And you were having birthday drinks on a day that wasn't your birthday, is that?
Yeah, just did it a weekend at my convenience because it's my birthday. So
well, it's not your birthday though. So listen, I'm not. I don't want to play devil's advocate. I'm just trying to get the facts whilst you down that sour. Did you have a wonderful time with your 198 people and one sour?
Yeah, I did. Thanks. Yeah. Not. It's meant to be a glass of sour, not bitter. So I'm not gonna. Not gonna go on about it.
In my defence, what I would say is I got pissed at the Clifton.
To be fair, that does sound fair enough.
And then ate a lot of stodgy, fatty food, and then basically couldn't move.
Or so you could have just come to this pub in Central and done the same thing for free.
Yeah, by being North London, then. That's a tax. That's a tax. That is. Well, I apologised profusely yesterday when we saw Albert in the upmarket brasserie that we went to.
No, you did. You shouted across from the bar, "Can you get me 2 pints of Moretti?"
One for my wife and one for someone you've never met.
Yeah, I've got nothing there. I've got that. Yeah, that's true. That is a fact.
What you did miss at Albert's party is I got to meet Neil for real.
Oh,
Albert's brother. Well, I mean, I don't know what happened with the gene pool, but he doesn't wear glasses and he's got a full head of hair. So I'm not really sure what happened in the curly gene pool here.
Doesn't work as hard.
Is he older or younger than you?
He's older. 44.
Wow.
44.
What's crazy, Hesketh, is they almost sound identical. So if you close your eyes, you could just believe you were talking to Albert.
I feel I've met Neil for real. Have I not?
In the fan zone. Met Neil. You've met Neil for real.
I met Neil for real at Millwall.
Yes, what a day.
We bonded over how annoying Albert was. We got on really well straight away, actually. And then you went for oysters and champagne after Millwall.
There's no better way to celebrate a momentous occasion.
I don't know why they called us Nigels, to be honest.
We won't tell anyone that we ended up in Soho House last night in White City then after the game. It's going to start feeding a very horrible narrative about us.
They'd run out of oysters, which was the real kicker.
Come on, guys. Get struck in.
You should have seen the way Albert complained about the table we were given. He was outraged.
I've been a member here for at least 2 years.
Right. What are we getting into? Oh, there was the great, I will say, Albert gave a great birthday speech impromptu after me and Neil for real just did a social experiment and just started tapping our wedding rings on a glass. And people just shut the fuck up and looked straight at Albert, who was none too impressed. You would never believe he does a podcast the way he shriveled up and couldn't even speak to his own friends. It was beautiful.
Not as shriveled as I am now around the mouth area.
Well, and we'll see how that sour goes down throughout the show. Hopefully, I mean, we've already been going 10-ish minutes. This might end up being as long as that Preston Fulham penalty shootout last night if we're not careful. What an evening, Carabao Cup. A 15-14 penalty shootout and a 2-1 penalty shootout on the same night is going some. Very special. That's I wonder if Bocat scored one of the penalties for Stoke. Goes down in history. Anyway, Simon Jordan's caught your interest today. We've got nothing on John Textor, Albert, so you can talk about Simon Jordan instead.
We've got nothing on. There's nothing on Textor Watch.
Not at the moment, no.
No.
He's just plain sailing on his skateboard at the moment.
Ow. Yeah, Simon Jordan, just a little clip popped up on social media of him giving a glowing review of the time that he signed Adi Akinbaye.
A well-rehearsed speech, Adi Akinbaye.
Adi Akinbaye, yeah. Try saying that after a couple of mango and guava, passion fruit, tropical crush, triple fruited, tropical sours, 4.5% from the Yonder Brewery. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't think anybody, regardless of your personal opinions on Simon Jordan, I would be very surprised if you found a Palace fan that didn't that didn't agree with his summary of the situation, and yeah, it's a bit of a shocker, really. And you sort of look back again, sort of reminded of what the strikers that we had at the time, and not only did we sign a terrible striker, we spent a lot of fucking money doing it and completely just cocked up that front line. It was quite impressive, but it's interesting to hear Simon Jordan take some of the blame. But he makes a good point about having to back his manager. So yeah, can't really complain too hard.
He was probably just furious that he had to get loads of plus signs to fulfill the 55 orders on the back of the shirt. I wonder if anyone's got an Akinbaye 55 shirt, 5+5.
I don't even think Adi Akinbaye's probably kept one of those.
I tell you what, if anyone's going to have one, it might be Terry Byfield, who celebrates 40 years at the club this week.
Wow.
And we're all big fans of Terry Byfield's work down the years here.
2 mega things turning 40 this week. Terry Byfield's Palace career and my time on this planet.
But is there anything more that reminds you of Terry Byfield than this? I'm going to keep that jingle. That's part of the pod now.
Is that the hold music for the Terry Byfield sex line?
Well, mate.
Of the club. So next time you ring 0208 768 6000, this is where you're.
I think that was the phone number Eddie Nketiah was calling in the corner of Loftus Road last night. But there is that infamous behind the scenes. I think we've talked about it in depth on the pod before.
Only every other week.
Got this. I've pulled a couple out. This is one of my favourites.
It's 2 minutes to 9 here in the club shop. We're just about to open, but already the phone lines are open and our staff are busy taking the mail order calls because we've come down here in the club shop to actually see exactly how an order is taken. The staff are on the mail order hotline. Supporters see the goods in the mail order catalogue. It's, by sounds of it, it's a home shirt, $39.99. The order's being taken over the phone. And now we want to see that order all packaged up and get ready to send straight to the doorstep of a Palace fan. Let's go up to the warehouse. Well, the order was taken there down in the club shop, the large shirt. In fact, a couple of shirts that customer wanted. Up here, we've got Don and Nobby who are working in our warehouse department, and they're actually making sure that the parcels all arrive on the doormat on time, because this is the warehouse area of Selhurst Park Stadium where all the stock comes in before it goes into the club shop. So anything that arrives in here and you see in the shop has been in the warehouse first. You may well place an order on the phones. It doesn't stop there because it stops here when the order is finally packaged up and the address label is put on and it all gets mailed up. We hope courtesy of Royal Mail. That warehouse was interesting, wasn't it? Now you've got a real insight to see exactly how that kit of yours, and it's sort of ordered from the top, gets.
Sorry, Tel, we're trying to pack orders here,
That was really
mate.
interesting.
Yeah, Don and Nobby just in the background being like, come on, mate.
Sorry, Terry, it's 2 minutes to 9. We're incredibly busy.
That warehouse was interesting, wasn't it?
Fucking hell.
By the way,
what year was that?
It must have been a while ago because he said it was like 30 quid for a home shirt.
$39.99, not quite £40.
I think we were still wearing Diodora, so I reckon it was a season we come down. So it was the season, it was the season after the relegation from the Premier League, I reckon. Does that sound about right for Diodora?
Yeah, mid-2000s.
Yeah. But we've definitely been promoted and relegated by this point, because at one point he shows the trophy cabinet and the playoff trophy from that playoff final is in there. So, and we were definitely in the Championship because he referenced being in the Championship, and we're playing Cardiff the following week. So, yeah. But yeah, I mean, congratulations to Terry Byfield for 40 years at the club in all sorts of guises. Nice.
Do you think they'll present that small microphone to him on the pitch at half time this weekend?
Yeah.
And you've not seen it for however an unspecified number of years, because we can't quite figure out when that video was. Presented by John Mackham.
Oh.
And here they are, Don and Nobby. What was the first one?
Yeah, I think it was Don. Dom
Yeah,
and Don. Or Don.
Dom and Nobby coming out for a commemorative game of on my shed hunt to commemorate Terry Byfield's 40-year anniversary. What is 40? Is that diamond, crystal? What is 40 in anniversaries?
I think at Palace you get
Hesketh on it.
Red and blue pom-poms left over from the crystals.
It's the Ruby anniversary.
Ruby. He's going to get a ruby encrusted small microphone presented by Don and Nobby.
Or they just bring him a curry.
Yeah, they're just going to take him out for a curry. That's it.
Yeah.
Take him to, is it Tamura up on the triangle? Although, it's a very haunting finish to that clip behind the scenes. It ends like this.
Talking of that, please, control room, let's go and see where you're kept an eye on every home match day. And remember, every match day, we're watching you.
He's actually stood outside the ladies' toilets at that one.
But of course we joke, like, again, congratulations to Terry Byfield. 40 years is, dedicating your whole life to the club he supported as well. He went as a kid. If you look on the Palace website, there's a nice interview of him talking about his time down the years at the club. And he's brought us loads of laughs over the years. You want to say it, Albert? I know you're itching to say it.
What?
All aboard.
Oh. Mate, get that DVD on. All aboard?
Was it a DVD or a video?
I had that on DVD. No, sorry, I have it on DVD.
Oh, okay.
Over there somewhere. Over there.
Okay. Excellent work.
If anyone's got Terry Byfield's behind the scenes tour on DVD, it is my birthday. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I've got a video coming of Dom and Nobby wishing you happy birthday on Friday, so.
Oh, bless him.
Right. So I've got lots of different teams to talk about this week. We'll start with Leicester. 2-2 draw. After coming back from 2-0 down, and once again Mateta getting an injury time winner against the Foxes in front of the Homesdale.
Wasn't a winner.
Oh, sorry, it wasn't a winner. Equaliser this time. Does that mean next time it's going to be a consolation?
Stark consolation.
We talked about what the lineup might be. We ended up seeing two debuts in Lacroix coming in, playing a back three with Gay and Klein. And we saw Eddie and Nketiah come in and indeed play in one of the narrow 10 roles with Eze. Hesketh, how did you feel the lineup looked in the opening of the game? Probably first 20 minutes. So do you think it worked well or not so much?
I really liked when I saw the lineup before the game. I thought it was a really good team. I was pretty excited to watch that. The first half I didn't think was great. I thought Lacroix was all right. He didn't have huge amounts to do from what I really remember. And Nketiah, I think I wanted to get a bit more involved than he did, but he definitely grew into the game. I thought he was good second half. But again, like we've said, it'll take these players time to sort of get to know each other and play in a sort of system and positions they're not used to. And Glasner said afterwards at the first training session they'd all had properly together was literally the day before the game. So maybe it shouldn't be super surprising. But yeah, I thought the performance itself overall from us was not great, especially in the first half. Second half was a bit better. Maybe that's fatigue or people sort of getting back into it or these new players coming in. I don't know. But yeah, it was not the best first half performance, I would say.
And I think outlined particularly by Albert how poor Mark Gay was. One of the ones who did come back from international break and play. Most of them didn't. You had Munoz played because I don't think you're ever going to tell him he's not playing. but obviously Lerma sat it out for the game. Kamada didn't start. Those kind of things. The people who travelled far away. We speculated last week that might be the case. But Mark Gay looks really out of sorts and got run ragged a bit by Vardy, none more so than the first goal.
Yeah, which was just after I actually tuned in to watch. So I didn't see much before then, but a lot has been made of Jamie Vardy, and always, he's a marvel at his age, but no disrespect to Jamie Vardy, even though I fucking hate him. Mark Gay shouldn't be getting run ragged by Jamie Vardy, no matter how well Jamie Vardy's doing into his sort of twilight years. Fully appreciate I'm sitting here about to turn 3 years older than him. It didn't really get much better there for Gahey from then on, and just looked very, very shaky. And I don't know if it was the combination of being away on international duty and then coming back and playing in he's played in a back three with Klein before. I don't know if having Lacroix next to him, didn't help. That's not me saying it's Lacroix's fault, but it's not the most consistent settled back three that Mark Gahey's ever played in. But yeah, I mean, he was very wobbly, and I think it's that sort of, and again, we'll get onto QPR. We just seem very, very tender at the back and unsure of how we want to defend games, and you don't expect that from a player like Mark Gahey.
Yeah, that's certainly right, and I've never seen him look so lost. He's had weird couple of minutes here and there across his player's career in games where he's made the odd error or whatever, but to see him look so consistently out of sorts for a large part of the game was, very strange. And it was by far and away his worst game for Palace since signing for us. But Hesketh, you think there's anything about him being in the middle? Because obviously he hasn't played in the middle of the back three, and it's a new role for him in that sense. Do you think it's long-term will work out better, or do you think we're losing a bit from his game by playing him there?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, normally I would say I think he can just play anywhere because he's obviously that good. But I think a few times, when he's played was one of the wide centre-backs in the three, and he's been able to sort of charge forward with the ball a bit. If he's the guy in the middle and we don't cover well, maybe he's thinking about that because of the goal that we let in against Chelsea. I don't think it should be a problem because I think he's a fantastic defender, and maybe it is just a case of him getting used to being in the middle rather than over to the side a bit. I think probably Glasner will keep him in the middle. I don't think we want to really spend every game sort of moving players around in the defence. We saw Lacroix play on the left-hand side. We've seen him play on the right-hand side. We've seen him play in a 2, and he's only played 2 games. So I think Glasner will probably want to try and have it as settled as possible. But obviously with Gay being who he is, if he's having a bad game in the same way that, if Wharton has a bad game, if JP has a bad game, you're asking a lot of everyone else to cover that because they're so important to the way we play. So, but I hope it was just a one-off. I think he was all right against QPR, but it was noticeably one of the worst games that I can remember him playing for us. So I really hope that he just needed to get out of his system and everything will just go back to normal on Saturday.
Yeah, I definitely think there's something about the unsettled back three that needs to be recognised. Lacroix's not had much of a pre-season, was injured just before he signed for us, and he was playing on the left, which is not his side that he should be playing on, and I think that showed for that second goal. With his body shape was all wrong, we just didn't get any purchase on the ball to clear it far enough, where that should either be going into touch or as far downfield as possible. And then again, Gay doesn't cover himself with glory, just reacting really slowly to the ball at the near post and not getting anywhere near it when, if he just read it as he normally would, he would have probably got his head onto it. And then it just ricochets off Klein and they're 2-0 up. But of course, we do go straight down the other end of the score. I mean, it's the maddest first start to a second half I can ever remember. I think the 2 goals, I reckon, was scored from the second half whistle blowing to start the game and Mateta scoring was probably less time than it took VAR to decide if Mateta was offside or not.
Yeah, I reckon you're
Which
right.
Again just ended up with a crowd just booing. Like, just, in the end, you can probably work out why it took a while to sort out, given how it was. But Albert, you were particularly enjoying the coverage on the TV from your good mate Glenn Murray.
I wouldn't say I was particularly enjoying it, but they went, the sort of from home VAR experience was they cut to sort of the wide angle and I actually didn't appreciate it was Glenn Murray on comms until this VAR sort of incident, and Glenn Murray has taken, I'm not going to say great delight, but
is it because he shit himself because he thought they said VAT?
Yeah. He said you can see there that he's clearly offside, Mateta. And the first thing that popped up into my head when I saw the frame was, well, he fucking isn't, because the player that's trying to block the cross has gone full stretch with the leg. And it is on the angle, and it's difficult to know to the inch when you're looking at it on the angle, but it certainly didn't look that clear. And the longer the check went on, the more I was convinced that he was offside. And then obviously they switched the angle, start drawing the lines. But Glenn Murray definitely hung his hat on him being clearly offside. And then when the goal was eventually, he said, "Oh, must be some sort of optical illusion."
Well, Steve Cooper thought the same thing as well, because they officially complained about the decision. To which I can only imagine the response back was, "It's offside." Yeah, I mean, whether, like, again, if he was just the wrong side, this is one of those exact scenarios where the striker should be given the benefit of the doubt.
Totally,
because it's extremely tight either way. But you can't be
not clear and obvious.
You can't be there going, I can't see how this is offside, because you just make yourself look stupid, because on that angle it doesn't look clear, and the technology that they have with the lines and whatever, I have enough confidence in it that when they put the line on the pitch, that it comes down in the right area. Whether they draw the line on the player at the right point and stuff like that, whatever, it's just like, just move on. Like, what are you going to get out of complaining in that sense? It's just like, I thought,
and it's not
where's the semi-automated? Weren't they coming in this year?
God, that's what I was promised.
But it's not even one of those ones where it's like blatantly wrong, and they've just sort of the Premier League are trying to sort of backtrack and cover themselves.
Yeah.
Like the linesman who give offside was fucking not level with play in the first place. And then, like you say, if it's that close and the guy stretching definitely makes it at best borderline, then I don't know why they're getting their pants in a twist for.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was offside with the naked eye, but I wasn't looking at the cross. I was looking in the middle as soon as it got in, so I wasn't watching the leg dangling out. And when you're just looking at Mateta next to the two defenders in the middle, he obviously looked offside because he was in front of them. Yeah. So when I saw the flag go up, I wasn't surprised. But I think as it took longer and longer, it was clear that it was probably going to be overturned, because it was a lot tighter than we thought. But yeah, gets gets Mateta back to scoring ways at Selhurst Park, where he's scored so many goals in this calendar year. And the game then probably hinges on the Kamada substitution, where is it Klein who comes off for him? It is, isn't it? And we go to 4 at the back and play kind of like a 4-2-2-2, I guess is the best way to describe it, really, with the fullbacks both pressing very high up the pitch. And it completely changed the game in that sense, because it took away what Leicester had been doing really well up to that point. And I don't think Leicester are amazing and looked like a humongous goal threat at all points. Both goals were errors by us. Mateta dropped the pass in behind Walton, which allowed them to break away, and Premier League teams punish you when you make those mistakes in the middle of the park on the transition. Well, this season we get punished. We don't tend to punish, but hopefully that will come. And then, of course, the mistakes we've already talked about for the second goal. but they'd done an absolute number on us. And it's part of a wider thing that I think I talked about on the pod last year when I was saying eventually teams are going to start preparing for how we play now. Everyone remained non-believers for the back end of last season and just keep turning up and playing us like we were Roy Hodgson's side and we could just pick them apart. And obviously we had one of the best players in the world in Michael Elise, as he's just going on to prove at Bayern by first Frenchman to score a brace on his Champions League debut since Thierry Henry. So if you're getting mentioned in those sort of brackets, you know you're doing something right. But, you know, we were just allowed to do what we wanted to do. And a lot of that, what we did so well, hinged on, and it was often Nathaniel Klein, but that third centre-back becoming an extra player further up the pitch as they pushed on. And what teams have now started to do, which Leicester did really, really well, is pin him. They just, one of that, Ndidi plays so far up the pitch, and any time, or if it was Ndidi, if it was Skip, if it was, got another Spurs one in there, ex-Spurs one in there, ain't there? Was Winks. One of them, just as soon as we tried to pass out from the back and try and get those patterns going, just come and sat on whoever side we were down. And it was often Klein, it was sometimes Acquire. And that is why fans ended up getting frustrated with Munoz constantly cutting inside, because all of his options were basically taken away from him. What usually was a 2-on-1 down there wasn't a 2-on-1 anymore. And then they were forcing him inside to where Leicester had loads of bodies, and it was making it really, really difficult to move the ball fast, or you end up just having to do speculative knocks down the field. And it was to change to 4-2-2-2, which is great to see. I would have liked to have seen it sooner, but Glasner's obviously realised it in play. And then as the game goes on and we seek it out, we end up only basically playing two defenders and really piling onto Leicester, because all of a sudden with that extra man in the middle of the park, they couldn't do what they were trying to do anymore, and they more regressed and added defensive players as opposed to try to keep it more attacking. So it was a really interesting tactical battle, and yeah, I think the Kamada substitution changed it all. And I fundamentally would say, if it's against teams now that aren't coming to try and beat us, first and foremost, we should just be playing four at the back. We can't just... The template of how to stop us has effectively been set now. When, you know, until Nketiah settles in and maybe they all build up more of a relationship in there, and him and Eze already started to show that sort of Elise Eze energy, in the sense that they want to be close to each other and play flicks off of each other and bounce the ball off each other and all of that. So that's great, and that will, you know, hopefully improve over time. But as it stands at the moment, we're a bit too easy to stop, and you're neutralising our threats. And you're asking Eze to do too much when he's on the ball. People talk of him playing at walking pace. I think it's a bit harsh. Like he's looking up, he's getting the ball and turning around, and he's seeing four Leicester players. And it's kind of like, you know, he can't always dance through all of them. So, yeah, ironically, as we get into talking to Man United later, playing five in the back might suit us, because maybe Man United will come out and want to play against us and not worry what we're doing. They're just going to play their style. But yeah, anytime for the rest of the season we're at home against a team we should be expecting to beat, I think I'd rather see four at the back. Anyway, we eventually get there in the end. Sarr came on, did really, really well again, I think. Like really, really good energy once again. Like,
yeah, it did really well.
Yeah. You would say that. And he's, sort of, what's he, that hoodwinks Connor Cody doesn't really realise he's there, Albert, and absolutely cleans him out. Any doubt?
Oh, very dubious. But no, I really like Connor Cody's reaction, because it's a proper, oh, for fuck's sake. Like, yeah, there's no
He's just been brought on as well.
Oh, I think he'd been on the pitch for a second. Yeah, and he's just absolutely just dived in, not seeing him, and you know, the tackle's not even over, and Connor Cody just looks like, oh shit. And I really like it when you see that in a footballer. There's no didn't touch him. There's like no attempts to try and get out of it. It's a full on bollocks. So yeah, no question as to that decision.
Yeah,
I was more intrigued to see who was going to take it.
Well, yeah, that's what I was just about to say. Mateta pulled rank basically on Eze because Ebbs came over and tried to take the ball away from him, and Mateta was just not having any of it and calmly slots. Still never missed a penalty in his career, Mateta.
Ooh.
I can say it after the fact. I will never say it when he's about to take it. But yeah, still yet to miss a penalty in his career, and it includes some penalty shootout ones as well in there. So he's doing well. Last bit I want to touch on the game, Hesketh, is what surprised me after. And there was someone in the game, standing near me in the game, who was suggesting he thought he had a bad game. And then on social media, I saw some people talk about Adam Wharton had a bad game, which just completely baffles the hell out of me, because I thought he was by far and away the best player on the pitch.
Oh, wow. I'm going to disappoint you. I don't think he was the best player on the pitch.
What?
But I think a lot of it is to do with how good he has been since he's come. And I think it makes it more noticeable. And I'm not blaming him for the goal, the first goal. Because obviously that, like you say, the pass went behind him. I don't know how to say it without getting your back up. I just think
it's a safe space here, mate.
It's a safe space.
I'm just going to tell you you're wrong. After.
You're wrong. Yeah.
We're not even recording.
Yeah, I'm sweating. No, just like I think he got better, but I think at most of the first half, I think his passing wasn't as good as we used to seeing it, and maybe that's to do with, like you say, that Leicester were packing it out in front of him, and that I don't think he was awful, but I have to say I actually did come away thinking I don't think it was a great performance from him. But again, that's different from me saying not a great performance from someone that I'm not expecting to have a great performance.
I'm going to stop Mum and Dad from having an argument and try and be somewhere in the middle. I don't think. Again, I didn't see the first 200 minutes. I don't think he had a bad game. What came across to me, or how I interpret it from watching at home, was he just looked a bit, which is weird because it was an international break. But he looked a bit slow. He looked a bit sluggish. And there's been a lot of talk about, is it groin that they're trying to monitor and manage, or some form of leg injury. But yeah, I thought he looked a little bit off the pace. Again, not in a way that was sort of hugely detrimental to the sort of cute passes that he does and his sort of amazing first touch. But he just looks like he was sort of playing at 7 out of 10 energy levels for me. I don't think he necessarily had a bad game, but he didn't look as sharp as the peak Adam Wharton that we've all been very lucky to see over the last few months.
I would say probably on 6 occasions he switched to play and put Mitchell on a plate to put crosses in that Mitchell declined often on many occasions, and eventually got one right for Mateta. But I think you're all mad. His passing was just as brilliant as it always is. That he was absolutely swamped in the middle of the park, and for whatever reason, Leicester decided they just wanted to lump Decore in the air for the entire game, including Jordan Ayew.
Yeah.
And hopefully his injury isn't too bad, but he certainly took a bit of a battering. But yeah, I just thought Wharton, in basically playing on his own against 3 in the middle of the park, still managed to do everything he does and still pulled off some incredible passes in that game, which we just didn't take advantage of. Where on another day, if Mitchell finds Mateta with a couple of crosses, I guess he did find one with Nketiah, who headed it wide. I think everyone's looking at it in a different way. So yeah, interesting that you guys thought that. I just still think you look like the best player on the pitch, but there you go. Anyway, 2-2, disappointing result in the sense that we would have wanted to win before kickoff, but I suppose any time you go 2-0 down, you're gonna take a point and respect the point and move on. And takes us to our cup game. We are into the last 16 after victory against QPR. It's funny how quick that cup gets deep. I think it's the first time in 5 years we got beyond round in the cup. But
wow,
yeah, it was a good evening. Also, before we get into the game, let's talk about it. We all met up in Belushi's, so my dad, who is picking up the reins for the marathon march this year, he's gonna walk it for us. So look out on the socials for links to sponsor him, so we can get him over his target. But he'd walked from Portland Road in South Norwood all the way to QPR, and he'd picked the pub, but I didn't realise he'd picked the away pub. I was looking forward to going into there and having a nice quiet meal and a drink before the game, and I walk into a pub where they say to me as I get there, "You're the last one we're letting in," because it was so rammed. And aforementioned Hesketh just demanding beers from you at the bar, Albert.
Yeah, that's fine.
Happy birthday.
Thanks.
Birthday. Yeah. But no, it was good. Really good vibes in there. Seeing loads of people who I haven't seen for a while. Nice to catch up with everyone. We had Doc Brown with us as well, which is always an entertaining evening when he's around. And I think
about 62 screens.
Yep. With
several.
That Villa Young Boys game was weird. Some of those goals.
Terrible. I mean, yeah, sort of preceded, sort of foreshadowed our game in hindsight. Yeah, no, it was nice to be in the away pub and have that atmosphere and see some fucking shocking goals going on the TV.
But obviously going to the game again, it's one we're expecting to win. We did win it. I'm not even sure we got into first gear, let alone get out of first gear to win it. But we did, and then Nketiah gets off the mark. What have you thought, Hesketh, for these performances across the two games? As we speculated on previous pods, he's been playing in that narrow 10. How do you think he's been doing in there?
Yeah, good. Like I said, I thought he was, through no fault of his own, a bit sluggish at the beginning of the game against Leicester, but I think that's more because I sort of saw him drifting centrally a bit, and like you said, because of Klein being sort of held back by Leicester, Munoz didn't really have many people cutting in to help him out. But he grew in the game against Leicester. He had that shot just wide of the post, similar to the type of area he had the shot where he scored against QPR. And I thought he looked good against QPR. It was a good bit of thinking for his goal from Eze. Great shot as well. So it was good for him to get off the mark. And I thought he looked quite good coming a bit deeper to get the ball and running with it. He seems to be quite good at that. Forced Jordan Ayew to foul him against Leicester with a similar run and was doing it a few times in the first half. So I think he'll be good. If it is an unfamiliar position to him, he seems to be getting the hang of it pretty quickly. And I like that he wants to pop these shots off. He looks pretty positive in that respect. And if he can get him more shots off, like the one against Leicester or the one he scored against yesterday, then I think he's gonna end up being a pretty good signing.
Yeah, I think Walsh should have probably saved it. The QPR keeper was getting some abuse in and around us. But some nice quotes after the game from Glasner around Nketiah, saying he's very involved in the game. He's not the pivot like in basketball. He's not waiting with his body because he's not 6'3", basically. He's so smart in finding a space. He can play as a number 9 and a 10. And when we switched to a 4-4-2 against Leicester, he played around the striker. He has such a good feeling for the game. Sometimes he needs to stay in the pocket and then make the run in behind. When Ebbs put a chip over, he ran in behind and he was waiting for the cutback when T gave him the pass for the second chance. These are different situations, but he has a feeling to make the right decisions. So that feeds in a bit more to what I was saying earlier in the sense of when Eze and Nketiah are starting getting on the same wavelength and play with each other more and more, it's encouraging to hear that Glasner thinks this highly of him and that he is understanding the system and can play in there and understand the ways he wants to play. So, yeah, it was encouraging words indeed.
I think he's definitely. I've got no doubt that he'll fit into the system because the game and a half that I've seen him play, he is getting into the positions, and he just said, dropping deep and sort of running laterally across the box as well to sort of go out wide and try and cut in, in a way that Eze does as well. So I've got no doubt that he's going to sort of adopt and fit into our sort of patterns of play and style of play. I think the thing that's obviously going to, ultimately that's going to make it or break it is, the chances that actually get created for him and the number of them he puts away. But, in the bits I've seen from him, when he's playing for Arsenal, albeit a superior team, a lot of the time when he's faced with an opportunity to put it in the net, he's sharp. And so I think we're very fortunate that he can come in. He's already got that relationship with Eze, from back in the day, and there's definitely that connection, that general attempt to try and play or that sort of link up style. But it's good to see he's get his first goal. Just like you say, despite the fact the keeper probably should have done a bit better, I think the more he plays, it's going to be just a case of making him and Mateta sort of coexist.
Mm. Yeah, it was interesting. I think we were talking about it at the game last night, saying now that if the both of them are going to play, our striking option off of the bench, if it's not working out, is basically crowbarring Sarr in as a 9, which I think he's done reasonably well when he's been asked to go into that position. He's very strong. He carries obviously in a massive pace threat in behind, which perhaps the other two strikers don't. So it's definitely different dimensions that he can bring. But there's probably an argument as well that Sarr's pushing for a start as well, though, in some aspects because of how well he's done when he's come on. But being at the game again, there's definitely some rumblings around the fan base. I think people are kind of upset with the system and decisions being made, and everyone just keeps saying, for some reason, Kamada's the Elise replacement, which I think is crazy, and it's why we've called this episode Calling for Calm, really, in this sense that let's give people in the stands, I don't know if you heard the same, writing Lacroix off. They've been writing Kamada off since Brentford on the first game of the season.
Yeah.
Bit harsh for players who have just come to a new country, learning a new league and all that, to write them off after 4 or 5 games into the season.
Yeah, I think it's very harsh, especially, writing Lacroix off when he's played a game is a bit silly anyway. I don't even think he was that bad against Leicester. I thought he was fine. But with Kamada as well, if you look at it, he's played out different positions, half a game, come on as a sub, then gone forward, then played deeper. He's not. You're not going to. No player that we sign is going to hit the ground running and be absolutely unbelievable immediately. Maybe Wharton, but like you say, he's come from a different country. He's meeting brand new teammates. He's playing in different positions. We've only had 4 or 5 games. There are definitely rumblings. You're right, and I think we're obviously a victim of our own success at the end of last season, but. As much as we'd all like to get that first win in the league, we haven't played that badly. We haven't been up to the standards that we had hoped for, certainly, for the most part of this season. But I don't think we played that badly. And last night, we didn't get out of first gear. I didn't really think we were in much danger. Maybe I wouldn't have said that when he flashed that shot wide just at the end of the game there. But part of me was a bit frustrated because I was like, come on, just get the ball moving quicker. But at the same time, we've had a game a few days ago. We've got Man United on Saturday. You don't want to go full pelt in the League Cup because he is playing a strong team. And then we all get knackered or we all get injured or whatever. I would like to have won it 3 or 4-0, obviously. We did it against Norwich. But, I think that it's a bit premature to write half of our new players off and think the manager's not up to par anymore when at the end of last season he was being touted for Bayern Munich and this, that and the other. So bit disappointing, a bit more patience definitely needed. And hopefully, if Daichi gets a winning goal against Man United, all is forgiven and he's everyone's favourite player.
Yeah. Yet again, though, QPR equalised, shooting ourselves in the foot again. And it was really annoying from Henderson, actually, because he pulled off an incredible save to tip the ball over the bar. And then from the resulting corner, he gets crossed straight down his throat and he punches it. And I think, no, if you're going to be a puncher, which he clearly is, it's a bit like all three of us with our misses, to be honest. We're all punchers. But you've got to be good at it. You've got to get it clear, right? And it was frustrating to see him not get much distance. Obviously, then there's more just poor defending that follows. But, for me, at that level, as a goalkeeper who gets into the England squad, if a corner's coming straight down your throat under no pressure from in the middle of your own 6-yard box, you got to be catching it there. I don't think there's any excuse for punching it. And I'm a big Henderson touter, but yeah, he's definitely made a bit of an error there that's led to the goal. But it comes back quickly as a scores with the aid of a huge deflection. Yeah, it's one of those weird ones, isn't it? On paper, Eze gets an assist and a goal, but it definitely didn't feel like that sort of game for him. But yeah, we got there in the end. And as you've already talked about, the chance they had right at the end where Leciester completely misjudged the flight of the ball and just let it bounce in behind him. Very, very strange. I mean, again, I think I said it at the top of the show, but he has been injured. He hasn't had a pre-season or much of a pre-season. Hopefully he's just a bit rusty because he's definitely not at the level I was expecting to see based on, what Florian come on and said about him on the podcast. So it's got to be rustiness. There's no way, he's been playing at the level he's been playing at in the Bundesliga and we've just signed an absolute dud. It just can't work out like that. So hopefully a few more weeks of playing football for him and we'll start to see him get a bit more mobile, because that'd be my main criticism of at the moment. He looks a bit stiff,
a bit rusty.
Yeah. But we shall see how it goes. But again, writing him off now is just you can have quite reservations about him, but to just straight up be saying we've wasted money on him is ludicrous. But we're in the hat. The draw's next week. Get no game for like 6 weeks ish. So it's
mad.
Yeah, far away. But Preston got through, so undoubtedly it will be Preston away, I imagine, now because it's not regional anymore from this point, is it? So we could be heading up north, but draw a bit like we did in the FA Cup a few years back, get Stoke at home. All of a sudden you're in the quarterfinals, all aboard, and anything can happen. But it's just nice to see us going for it, as we talked about in last week's pod. It's first time we've got to this round in 5 years. It's refreshing to still be in the cups come October, as it will be when we get there. And then it all leads into Manchester United this weekend, who are obviously off the back of a league win and a 7-0 thrashing of Barnsley in the cup last night. How are you feeling, Albert? We're going for 3 wins in a row against them for obviously the first time in our history, because 2 in a row against them was the first time in our history. So what do you reckon?
Well, toss a coin on the day. They're very inconsistent. They looked fairly comfortable against Southampton, but again, you sort of go, well, we should be expecting that from a Man United side that's made signings and ultimately is Man United. But again, they're more than capable of absolutely spooning a game like that. So what we'll get at Selhurst on Saturday is hard to say. We are not. It's not the game that we saw towards the end of last season when we were really at our peak, and obviously broken record. But Michael Elise was there, and we all know what he did that night. So yeah, I wouldn't like to put it on my accumulator. Let's put it that way. This one, I think it can go either way. I think sitting here right now, would I take the point? Yeah, I probably would. But we've got something's got to click for us. I like to think Wharton comes back in. We only make minor changes, keep the same system, keep the same sort of majority of the personnel, and hope that it clicks a bit sooner and a bit better, and maybe we can nick a victory. But as it stands right now, I don't know if it's because I'm tired and getting old, but I'm not feeling the most optimistic about it.
Well, good. So I'll move from you to someone else who never feels optimistic about anything, particularly not coming north of the river for someone's 40th birthday party. But Eskif, is there going to be, it's sort of like a two-part here, is there going to be an element of United wanting some revenge for last season? Because, it's not often they get thrashed 4-0 by, unless it's Liverpool or City might do it to them, but, unless it's one of the top teams, they're not used to getting thrashed 4-0. And do you think they will turn up and play their own game, or do you think, a bit like Leicester and West Ham, they'll come and try and stifle us?
For the first part, I'm sure there will be some sort of measure of revenge in their minds, just because I'm sure a lot of the players who played that game will play again on Saturday. I think they'll play their own game. I mean, that, like you say, Leicester sort of attacked our centre backs very well, and they might have seen that. But I think Man United will probably think that their game is their game. I saw a little bit of the punditry after Liverpool beat them, and Arne Slot was sort of talking about how he figured out how to get around Man United. And the consensus seemed to be that Man U just sort of thought, we'll play our way and we'll win, which is pretty dangerous to do against Liverpool. But I think they'll do it. I think they'll see us having not won a game this year. Defensively, we're not looking our best. We've let in some frustrating goals. Admittedly, the opposition was League One, but they scored 7 goals during the week, so their tails were up, and they scored 3 against Southampton in the league before that. So I reckon they'll come and attack, which will hopefully play into our hands. I think defensively they're still there to be got at. And like Albert said, we're still waiting for a few things to click with the team, and I think that's both in defence and attack. We're not as fast, or we don't break as quickly as we did at the end of last year. Obviously, Elise has a lot to do with that, but I still think we've got players that can get us up the pitch a lot quicker. The defence needs to figure it out, whether that's just getting to know each other better, whether Chalobah comes in and that's another thing, or whether he's still injured, whether Doucouré is injured and Lerma keeps his place, or we bring Hughes back in. There's just little things that need to click. I don't think we're that far away, but until those things do click, then it's going to be like we're not where we know we can be. So, I mean, unsurprisingly, I'm not super optimistic about Saturday. I've got a bad feeling we'll lose, because I just think but sort of they're going to have their tails up, and if they score first, I think we're going to struggle a little bit.
Well, given the way he performed against QPR, I can't see Lerma coming in, to be honest. I think it will be Hughes that would start the game in the case of Doucouré not being fit, and I probably don't think Doucouré will get risks, so I can see it being a Wharton and Hughes midfield. And as for things clicking, hopefully, given the way Manchester United are likely to play, hopefully there's a bit more space to operate in, a bit more, like I say, not that we've had against Leicester or QPR, where you're just getting swamped by players really chock in the middle of the park. Yeah, and we need to score the first goal in a league game to just see what happens as a result of that. But look out for it in the game. Look out to see when we're picking the ball up deep, on how high are their midfielders up on the pitch, and are they sitting on our third centre-back on the side we're trying to attack down? If the answer is no, and they're giving us a bit more space there, we can expect a more free-flowing afternoon and probably be able to get at them a bit quicker than we've managed to get at Leicester and things like that. So it's going to be an interesting one to watch. It'd be interesting to see how United approach it, given getting thrashed here last season. Probably won't want the same to happen again, but they'll want to build on the momentum they've gained in the last couple of weeks. So I think it's going to be a good tactical battle. And hopefully Glasner can get his first Palace win sans Elise against a team that now isn't in the Championship. So, because it's going to rumble on. in the background. Every game we don't win without Elise, it's going to rumble on.
Yeah.
So, anyway, let's call it there. Thanks to everyone for listening. Who we got next week?
Everton. Great question. It is
Everton. Yeah, Everton.
Protects the derby.
Got to sign off with a win at Goodison Park. It's our last ever trip to Goodison Park, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mainly because they're going to get relegated. No, I'm just but aren't they
liquidated?
2 games running, going 2-0 up and losing 3-2 in the league for them. That takes some doing.
Makes me feel better. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, so we'll be back next week to have a look at Manchester United, look ahead to Everton, and whatever wacky other bits of Palace we decide to feed in to the mix. So thanks, Hesketh. Thanks, Albert. Happy birthday for Friday.
Thanks. If anyone else has got any great Terry Byfield memories, please do email the show.
Yeah. And if you're Dom or Nobby.
Including Terry, if you're listening.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks everyone for listening, and until next time, up the Palace.
And remember, every match day, we're watching you.